Yep, I think we can start. All
Okay.
right. Cool. So yeah, welcome everyone to today's Ling Live session on the topic the recruiter playbook your team needs. I'm Chavi, content manager at Recruit CRM, and I'll be moderating today's session, but mostly behind the curtains, while our expert today takes the spotlight. So today we have Diana Mendes, and let me give you a quick introduction about Diana. She's a talent source and a talent intelligence expert at Stellantis, where she leads strategic talent acquisition initiatives with a deep focus on diversity communication, and tech recruitment. Diana has been pivotal in transforming the way top tier talent is sourced across engineering, product, data, and cybersecurity roles. She's also recognized voice on LinkedIn and she posts quite often on her page, so you should check that out as well. Today, Diana will walk us through the importance of building a recruiter playbook that actually works. And she'll share how clear playbooks can streamline recruitment processes and ensure efficient teamwork. So yeah, welcome Diana. Over to you.
Hi, Chavi. Thank you so much. I think someone else, like Chavi, is doing such a great job, like introducing me, that I don't think I need anybody else to introduce me at this point, right? Chavi, you can always introduce me anytime, where I go. That was great. I hope everybody enjoys the session today. That please share your questions or share your thoughts about it. I'm more than happy throughout, like after the session, for also answering questions that you may have. I understand that sometimes playbooks can be like a little bit tricky to build or to start building or even to like navigate through them. So please hit me out. I'm more than happy to talk with you all. We will be together for like the next 30 minutes. I'm more than happy to sit with you and talk more about it. So let me just share my screen. And I also told Chavi that sometimes I am a very fast speaker. So if I'm speaking too fast, hit also in the chat like Dana, you're like high level speed of English. I'm more than happy to talk like slowly. So first of all, what it means a playbook. So a playbook is a guideline. It should be a guideline, a resource documentation where you and your team would be using to support throughout your life cycle inside of the company you are or inside of your consultancy company, whatever you have, that will help hiring managers, HR, and business to comprehend what it defines to be your talent acquisition team. Playbooks can be for anywhere. You can have engineering playbooks. You can have, for example, architecture playbooks. You can have, for example, on GitHub has several of those kind of styles where you can comprehend and understand better what it's something, how to build that in the process. So on this slide is very cool because my background is also about Star Wars. I love like those kind of things. So what exactly needs to happen and what exactly needs to, at the end of the day, when you leave this playbook done, what do you need to have at the table? You need to make sure that your role is very clear and what is the role of each one of the people that should be involved in a hiring process or in a recruitment process. All of us should be aware that recruitment process is much more than job posting and an offer. Comes from the awareness of the company, right? Employer branding. It should come by talent marketing. It should come about how to portray the company outside so they know us, and us could be any company you are discussing today, and how can we bring them organically, like they will come to us because they are super interested in like working for us, or when we approach them as sourcers, like in my case, we go around them and know them more, or during applications. So we want to make sure that the roles are very clear, well defined. Let's just remember that, of course, because of that, this is a live role. In the beginning, for 10 people, can be quicker. Like the playbook would not be more than like 2 or 3 pages. But when you start to scale to 50 people, 100 people, 200, 300 recruiters, or something like that, the playbook will be more robust. And maybe the roles will expand, right? So a talent acquisition team is a very complex organization inside of HR, such as comp and bench, such as, for example, workforce planning and etc. Maybe on your level of your company, maybe with 10 recruiters, you don't need a workforce planning. But when you get into like 200, 300, 3,000 people, in the company, maybe a workforce planning will be necessary for the HR, and this will change a little bit the roles probably. So this is something that everybody needs to think about and consider. The second one is step-by-step journey. What does that mean? Is from the moment that you received a job requisition, like, hey, I have a position for a recruiter, to an offer itself accepted. What is the process? For example, I had companies that I worked with that generated a gamification process, and they taught the recruiters how to build this game. So then everybody who passes through the process as a candidate should know exactly how it works. I had companies that had a very structured system, and they had it exactly what each interview should be. This is based on the culture of the company. Of course, it always should have an intake meeting, right? You should always have the recruiter screening, right? We need to gather some information. Should have an interview process with 2 or 3 interviews with the hiring manager included, like a little bit of debrief, understanding what is the best candidate, and then an offer. How you're going to build that, it depends on you. Maybe we will be needed like more like 30 minutes or like 2 hours talking about hiring processes and how different they can be throughout different like companies and different scales on this matter. The third part is templates and scripts. We did that here at Stellantis, which has been such a great experience. Is our emails, our feedback notes, human enough? Are being open enough to the candidates? Are they on the way of the GDPR should be? In different countries, the way of the English speaking will be different wordings. So how do we make sure that in Poland, the Polish is well tailored with the communications of talent acquisition, how this should be for each one of the parts? This will create inside of your playbook a great opportunity for a recruiter who is joining the company or a hiring manager to see exactly how do we work. And last but not the least, what are the KPIs and SLAs that your team works with? Because why this is necessary to be here? Because that's how we track talent acquisition, right? Time to hire, time to fill, offer acceptance, diversity, you name it. What is the KPIs and SLAs your team needs to have? And we always need to remember that this is expectations. Maybe the SLA that you would have, for example, that's what we would put in ideal 2 or 3 days to return to a candidate a feedback. This is the ideal, but maybe your company still, your recruiters are still struggling with that because I don't know, they don't have an ATS, or I don't know, the ATS is getting a hard time to give feedback for them on time. But it will help you to identify what are the main pain points you're having today and how to address them, and maybe update your playbook and then update whatever you need to do. Another good tip for you is maybe include tips from your team. Make it this more like humanized, more closer to your team, you know? For example, maybe one of your teammates has a great tip about the roles. Hey, just remember that not because you're just a recruiter, you shouldn't be like a partner for your business. Always remember to make a little bit of market studies about the marketing team. That's also a great idea to help the recruiters and every single person who will be reading it to see how this is being applied like on a day-to-day basis. And I'm seeing that I'm still on a good timing on this matter. I'm so proud of myself. The second one, please, I'm a memes person. Do not feel crazy about that, okay? So nice. We talked about what it needs to have, but how do we actually put it in action? I put it 5 to 6 points and steps. So please make sure that in the end of the day, those are steps that maybe some of those you will jump according to the needs of your team. Others, you will just add some extra steps. So the first one, you need to make sure that everybody is on board what you're building. Oh, hi, everybody. We are building a recruiting playbook. We would love to sit with you all and understand what is the pain points, how it was like in your previous companies that you recruited, so you can start gathering information and putting all of them together on the same main page. And why this is necessary. I believe that all of us in recruitment needs allies. We need people that will work with us and who will support our job. And we only have that if we make sure that everybody is on board of what we are doing. It's great to have them together. Make sure the leadership, like the head of HR or the TA managers, whatever is like your leaders, are aware of what you're building and why do we are building this. Remember that when we're talking about the rules, the guidelines, this is important for them to know because this is essential for you to help them to apply and adopt this in the future. So what you're doing is setting the foundation that is required for you today for the next 3 or 4 months have a successful recruitment process or adoption of the recruitment playbook. I also added a tip here is narrate the why. Make a small video for people, generate decks. How do you feel about it? I like a lot the idea of small videos and short messages so people are aware about how clean this can be and why we are building this. So it's quicker delivered to several people at once. But in the end of the day, this playbook will be huge, depending on how is the team, how much is the company. Make sure to find small ways to make them read it. So, okay, so here has a 5 minutes video explaining about interview process. You can see it, those like informations on slides 5 to 10 if you want more information, but that's how we work on the interview process. This is how we work on the offer process. This is your responsibility as a hiring manager, and that's what we are expecting for you. This gives them the chance to quickly understand what we need to do and what they need to do, and also onboard new hiring managers, new HRs, new TAs on this point. The second step is you already build it. Make this alive, right? This is not a dead PDF that will be there, tossed somewhere and forgotten. But I thought about, for example, in other companies that I worked with, they had it, for example, a Notion, or they had it, for example, inside of like a spreadsheet or like small information that when we made some changes, everybody was aware of the changes. And why do we need the changes? For example, in another company that I worked with, they made it a change inside of the interview process to add manager's committee, right? And this was essential to make this change due to the volume. So they made sure that everybody was aware, all the meetings were informing this, why this decision was made, and this was changing the playbook. Others, when they made it, for example, a change on the step of the screening process, how do we make the screening process? This also was informed by everybody. So this is also good because sometimes feedback and things change in our companies, right? Nothing is like the same every day. I don't know about you. My recruitment day sometimes starts with 9 a.m. with like, oh, everything is all right. The same thing I always thought before. 9:01 change, 9:02 change again, 9:03 go back to the 9 a.m. So all can change too quick. So let's just make sure that is a life decision. Like we don't change often, but we make sure that when we make the changes is because based on the KPIs or the SLAs or the real needs of the business, this is important to change. One thing that I think it's also important is make sure that you make quarterly reviews about this. It can be audits. It can be with recruited champs or TA ops, for example. What is actually going on with the playbook? Is it actually being adopted or not? Oh, Diana, it's not being adopted because, I don't know, I'm giving an example. It's adopted because the hiring managers wants to see the CVs before the recruiter's interview because they are a bit concerned about the quality of that. Okay, so this is a little bit deeper than the playbook. Let's just understand what's going on so we understand why we are having this concern and then address this concern. We observe that we don't need to change anything on the playbook. What we need to do is educate people. Or maybe we had it a large reduction of the recruitment size, but the amount of positions didn't follow the same. Maybe we will need to make some small changes on the recruiting playbook so it can be more flexible for the recruiters to not be overcrowded or something like that. As I said before, continue using user cases. add some small cases, do small videos about the cases, how the playbook was implemented and this impacted a team. This will help other hiring managers and HRs to see the impact of how the playbook in practice has been used. Sometimes people need those kind of realities in the table, right? We also have the step 3 and 4, foster ownership. Empower recruitment is something that my amazing VP of talent acquisition here, we work together. Sammy always said that to me. We need to empower the recruiters. We need to sit with them, show them that is their responsibilities. It's for them. It's not for me only as a global person who is far away from the candidate in the end of the day, or far away from the reality of the day-to-day they have inside of the plants. For example, here, Stellantis. How do we make sure that they see this as a practical way? Of course, in large corporations like ours, we will have different ideas of different ways to make this work. But how can we make sure the recruiter, who is the main owner of this playbook, is seeing this as the reality on his day-to-day or their day-to-day basis? Also, encourage continuous learning. One of the things I like a lot in some playbooks is that they put in a lot of articles and a lot of blogs that people can start reading and study and developing themselves. I'm always an advocate about that. I feel it's very weird when I don't see recruiters not progressing themselves or learning, because I have the feeling that they can learn so much with the market and they can bring so much good things to their companies and make the change and make the difference. So that's also a great opportunity for them. Step 4 is track and measure impact. What does it mean by that? For example, how many adoption do we had? Are we able to track all of the KPIs we promised on our playbook? Why are we not? What is going on? Are we maybe speeding up too fast and losing quality? Maybe we need to change the SLAs or the KPIs. Or are we having resistance to adopt the playbook because, I don't know, before it was the HR who was handling all the first interviews and we are switching to the recruiters? This is change management of the recruitment process. How do we make sure that we are not creating resistance, but adoption and empowering everybody to work together? Recruitment, in the end of the day, it is a huge chain that needs to work together to be successful. We cannot work alone, and we can never work alone. Like recruitment without HR or without the business, it's alone itself, and it's very complicated for them to progress and to actually deliver the best of the best for the company. So working together as a group, as a chain, will develop a lot and more stronger business and recruitment process to everybody. Last but not the least, adapt and evolve. Evolve, guys. The recruitment process evolves with you. The playbook also evolves with you, which means that maybe the first playbook you're going to do is 3 dots. I want this to happen, to 3, 4, 5 training sessions where everybody needs to pass in the future from your learning hub that is mandatory from their onboardings. Can you imagine how cool this will be for you? But this will always come when we build everything we do on feedback. Feedback is essential for individuals, for companies, but for TA. Without feedback, it's impossible for us to evolve and to progress in our playbook. As we said in the beginning, playbook evolves together. They do not evolve by itself alone or something like this. It only evolves if we have the quarterly meetings, if we go to hiring managers and ask for feedback, if we make sure that we are open enough to read, right? And also, in the end of the day, is to stay agile. How do we stay agile in a situation like that? I believe the first way to do this is, I believe the first playbook you will build and send it to everybody probably will not be the best one, but will address the first real needs that you have. Throughout the times you receive feedback, that you discuss with the TA ops, you discuss together with the teams, revisit the SLAs, understand the reality of the company, how the company is evolving, and your team is also evolving, this will change with the way. We do not want to expect the company to come to like 10,000 employees to make a playbook and then start all over, right? We want to make sure that we evolve together with the company and evolve with the needs they have on this matter. In the end of the day, a playbook is a guideline, and the guideline needs to be empowered by the recruitment, the TA team, and then supported and adopted by the HR team and the business. Without that, it's quite impossible for us to succeed. Of course, we can make it happen without that. Every region or every different teams can create their own hiring process, but the inconsistency can impact the metrics, can impact how do we progress, and impede us in the end of the day to be one team only FTA. And that's what we want with the playbook. Put everybody on the same scene, on the same foundation. And if we need to make adjustments for different teams or different countries according to laws or to needs, it's possible to do it. So that's what I have for today. I spoke fast enough to make it go. So Xavi, do you want to show me the questions and we can go from there? How do you would like to do?
Yes, yes. So, Dana, that was amazing. And now we will actually move into our Q&A round. So, if anybody has any questions, they can drop in the questions on either YouTube or LinkedIn. We actually have one question already. So, someone is asking, how do you ensure consistent buy-in from leadership and hiring managers when implementing a new playbook?
That's a great question. The first thing we need to do to make sure on the consistency is build a strong relationship with them. Like since the beginning, sit with them, introduce yourself. Like, hey, I'm Diana. I'm from the talent acquisition team. We have a process, and this process is this. We are building the recruitment playbook. What was your playbook system in the past? How did it work from there? We need your support. We need your help to do that, and continue building this relationship with them. In the end of the day, it's easier to recruitment to come closer to them and make them understand the impact, and then slowly making this go. So for example, what I would do to make this consistent is build a planning of implementation. So first for the talent acquisition team, they started to adopt the second one and adapt whatever is the recruitment process they have. If they are owners of some of the recruitment process, this then said with the HR team, so they are understanding what's going on. After we talk with them, we build them and developed, right? Third level would it be for the hiring managers in the business to be implementing. And then after that, set up quarterly calls with them to make sure that it's being implemented, what it's going on, what kind of needs they have, if it has any roadblockers to see with them. It's always building this open relationship with them. But if we have the talent acquisition team very onboarded of the process, it will be much easier to do this on a daily basis than you just coming every quarter like, hey, how it's going on? I hope I answered the question. Can you bring me the next one?
Yes. I actually had a question for you, Diana. So,
Of course.
yeah. So, from your experience, what are some of the most common mistakes that teams make when creating and implementing a recruiter playbook, and like how can they possibly avoid these?
Okay, that's a good one. I think the first mistake I see it most of the time is to not understand, is just to bring like an ideal world without thinking about the needs of the teams. So always make sure to sit with your team and say, like, we are building the playbook. What do you have in recruitment process? What are some of the strategies you have been building today? What kind of things you have been doing? Of course, you can build it, but it's always really good to make sure that you have this interaction with them. The second is, I had this experience before, is to have a playbook that is very complicated with wording. If this is not the culture of the company, it can be very complicated to people to like implement and actually be consistent on this one, because it's very complicated to adapt or to adopt also. And I also think the other one that could be very like challenging is if we change too much. Like today, the process is this. on the playbook, tomorrow I change again, and I've been changing all the time. So people will be like, why we are changing so much in like so little days, in amount of days? Why do we don't like make one change now, and then like a few months we change it again, so people can have time to adapt themselves and adopt and make slowly process on this matter. I think in the end of the day, that's what we want people to do. It's very hard to adopt something and to like be empowering something if things are changing too quick without informing everybody on this matter. Did I answer you, Chavi?
Yes, that was perfect.
Cool.
All right, so we have one more question from the audience. Um,
Okay,
how, how to manage the balance between standardization and personalization in the playbook?
that's a great question. This is something that we have here in Stellantis. So we have different countries, different needs. So we always need to make sure that whenever we talk with them is how do we build the global, like the max everybody needs to be seeing it. And then we make sure that it's open enough for them to create the personalizations they need in their own teams. This also happened with me in previous companies. So for example, the tech teams would have a different process than the business team, but the hiring process, it was based on the playbook, even that it has some changes. So the idea is always to remember that it will require personalization on the base of the recruitment teams. So for example, if someone is on the marketing team, maybe they will require specific needs that probably the data team will not require. Or for example, if you are in Europe, you cannot require certain documentation that in South America is completely fine to be done. Or for example, how do you produce offers in a contract mode or in a full-time or in a blue collar requires different way in India than it is in Africa. So you need to have an open capacity that they have the way to personalize according to their needs on the day-to-day basis. You will probably not cover each one of those details, but you are able in a global playbook or a general playbook to give all the information they need so they can go down according to the system. Oh, no way Jay is here today. I'm seeing a question from him. Hi, Jay. I saw the question, but please, Chavi, you can ask the question for me.
All right, I'll read it out for you. Jay is asking, how do you know whether the playbook is working? When will you do a course correct?
That's a good question, Jay. You always have great questions. Like we have great conversations. For me, is I know when it's working when I started to see the SLAs, but not only the SLAs, but the recruitment team returning to them all the time and discussing about the playbook and understanding how this impacting their process. The other way also is to through the SLAs and the KPIs, we are seeing them on the expectations coming closer to what we expect. But the last but not the least, also it is when I can discuss with the recruitment team and they come to me saying, hey, Diana, we observed this and we observed that unfortunately the playbook is not being so satisfactory us anymore because of these roadblockers that we have, is not being able to guide us through this one. So this give us the chance to understand that it requires a little bit more time or required some changes and tailoring a little bit better. Of course, we will need constant conversation, constant feedback, maybe an audit to understand if it's fully being implemented. And also, in the end of the day, how do we make sure that we're having a discussion another day about how do we make sure hiring managers and interviewers are having proper training to like making interviews. This also can come inside of like a playbook. How do we make sure that we bring this onto the onboarding learning or how to do that? Jay, this is another great question that we can go through another time in 30 minutes. But Chavi, next one, please.
All right, I think that those are all the questions that we have, Diana.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
anybody
Jay, I saw Jay asking one more question. I don't know if you're seeing that one.
let me see. Yes, he's asking one more question. Do you create a sourcing playbook as well?
Yes. So I have a sourcing playbook here in Stellantis. I also had one in other companies as well. For example, at Facebook, we had it also one, and etc. It's very important to create when the TA starts to be more complex, right? It starts to be more specific. You need to define the roles better. So, what is my role as a talent sourcer, a talent intelligence team? What is the responsibility of a TA project, the TA ops, and etc. Each one of them should have their own playbook based on the global playbook, and this will give the audience, which means the talent acquisition teams, HR, and business, have a well understanding what is our service, how is our process, what is our SLAs, and how do we work and how do we adopt that to make sure that this works. Normally, in my opinion, with the sourcing one was quite nice for us because when I did that, I started to do this process that we discussed, coming to the HR leaders, coming to like TAs, explaining my responsibility. And I started to show them and implement and practice the playbook, showing them how I did step by step. It made much easier for them to go. I believe it took us a few months until like everybody was onboarded of the responsibility of a talent sourcer. And now it's so cool because when they realize they require more help or they understand they need specific things that the sourcing team can have and should support them, they come to us with all the system and all the requirements done. So this is also really cool. I think in the end of the day, when it gets more structurized, like more than like the 360 recruiters and etc., we can make the sourcing team more efficient on this point. But we can do like another like call about that, Chavi, about sourcing itself and the playbook itself for sourcing and how do we can build one. It's totally fine.
Yes, yes, definitely. So I think that those are all the questions we have. Does anybody have any other questions? We can wait for a few seconds in case anyone has anything else they'd like to ask Diana.
Yeah, like so far so good, right? So next
Yeah.
weekend everybody will have a holiday. May 4th will be coming shortly. Like I'm just giving the seconds to everybody, right? May 4th it's coming shortly. I hope like you guys learned some really good tips. If not, please just send me a feedback. As you can see, I'm open to feedback also. So you all can like tell me more a little bit about what's going on and how is everything. I don't know if we have more questions. So
Yeah, I think we've answered a lot of questions for today. So yeah, Diana, that was amazing. We got some very interesting questions as well, and you answered them so well. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining and for engaging and asking those questions. We've just dropped a couple of links in the comments for everybody to engage with, so you can connect with Diana. We've dropped her LinkedIn profile below. You can also explore Stellantis. We've dropped the company website there as well. And in case you're interested in checking out Recruit CRM, you can head over to our website or book a demo or even sign up for our free trial. Plus, we have social media platforms, social media channels as well, so you can connect with us on those platforms to stay up to date on our upcoming LinkedIn Lives. And finally, we also have an active annual survey going on. So if you participate using the link in the comments, you get a free exclusive recruitment toolkit. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else from you, Diana? Any closing remarks?
I think I just want to say thank you so much for the time and opportunity today, right? With Xavi and Recruit CRM. It's always a great pleasure to share knowledge and share experiences to each other. So please keep doing that. Keep talking with people. Try to understand like new things and learn new things about the recruitment world. And if you want to ask me any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Sometimes I'm quite slow, so you can just like insist quite like kindly. I will remember to answer everything and everybody. But thank you so much for the time and opportunity today.
All right. Thank you so much, Diana. Well, it was lovely having everyone here. And yeah, I think with that, we'll close the session today. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Have a good day. Bye.